as far as his practice design, he would build in time for his players to independently work on what they need to work on during practice, not just before practice or after practice, because I hear a lot of coaches say, oh, well, we let them do stuff at the beginning of practice. Well, that's great, but maybe during practice, try it that way. So these are just some of the things we're going to talk about. What is autonomy supportive coaching behaviors and application? So for example, provide opportunities for players to take initiative and independently work. So can you schedule free time during practice? Again, the keyword during, or in the middle, or wherever, to have them work on a self-determined area of strength or weaknesses. So I'm going to talk about how I did it, and I'll actually show an example. Give players a choice within boundaries. So let the athletes choose an activity from a prepared list. Again, it's planned. It's not just, hey, here's a list of activities, do it. No, in your mind, you have a prepared list of activities and you give your players the choice of what they want to do. The third one is giving rationale for tasks. A lot of times as coaches, we tell them that they have to do it this way because we told them so. And what that does sometimes is it creates a top-down approach, and it actually can be traumatic. So if we can explain the advantage of doing a certain thing a certain way, and we kind of give rationale as to why it's important that they're doing it, that goes a long way for them to develop some autonomy and some competence. Just listen, non-defensively to their feedback. I think as coaches, when a player kind of questions something, sometimes we already get on our guard and we're thinking that they're not accepting what we're trying to teach them. So I think it's really important that you acknowledge their feelings, say, I hear you, appreciate it, and let's take that in consideration. So how can we integrate that? How do we solicit athlete input? So athletes, again, they need to know that you care about them, because they won't care what you know until they know that you care. And in order to do that, though, they have to be able to go to you and say, hey, coach, I think we need to work on kind of how our back four and our goalkeeper and our six work a little bit better in the defending third, because maybe you think it's going well, but maybe they don't. So can you solicit their input as to what they think we need to work on? And then avoid controlling behaviors. Recognize that a skill can be done in many ways. And so I'm going to kind of go through all of these types of things here on this slide. And again, I apologize for the graininess of the slide, but it's again from the textbook, and I'll reference it here at the end. So I'll pause if there's any questions in the chat box. If not, then I'll just move on.
We're good to go, Vince.
Okay. All right. So the first one, providing opportunities for initiative and independent work. So like I mentioned, Gregor Townsend at the beginning. So he called it great by choice. So basically he told players that they have X amount of time to be great by choice, to work on what they think they need to work on. They can do it by themselves. They can do it with a teammate. They can do it with teammates. You give them boundaries, but you give them that independent time to kind of work on what they think they need to work on in the middle of practice, or maybe it's after a warm up, or maybe it's right before you play the end game, just to kind of give them a little breather, and then you play the end game. So he called it great by choice. There's a college program in Michigan that calls it pro time. I presented this one time, and there was a college coach in the audience, and he said, Vince, we do this with our college athletes, and we call it pro time. So they get a chance to develop what they think they need to work on, and you give them X amount of time. I've done this with young as 8-year-olds all the way up to the high school kids. I'm also a high school coach. And at first I did it with my high school kids, and they thought, oh, this is different, right? Because I did it right in the middle of practice. I said, all right, you have 10 minutes to work on whatever you think you need to work on. You can do it with a teammates. The only thing I'm going to tell you is you just can't stand and shoot in front of goal, right? Because that's what a lot of kids would like to do. That's what they like to do before in practice too, and right until everyone's arrived. So the result of it was they wanted to continue it, and I let them choose what they wanted to do. So, for example, I had an athlete, a student athlete, and he said, "Coach, I'm not fit. Can I just run?" And I'm like, part of me, I'm like, well, why are you telling your coach you're not fit? But I'm like, sure, yeah, just take someone with you, make sure. And if you just want to run for 10 minutes and do some aerobic work, great, go ahead. You got 10 minutes. They loved it. And we started integrating it every 2 weeks into practice. And so I'll just show you a video. I hope you can see this on the screen. There's no sound. Can you see it all right on the screen?
We can see the picture. It just has.
Yeah, I haven't clicked on it yet. I just want to make sure you can see it. So this was an ODP event that I did in Indianapolis, where I live. It's Grand Park, beautiful facility. So these are ODP kids in the, I want to say they're in the 09 age group. So we had stations because we had such a huge group. And in the middle station where I'm at, I have a group of kids and I'm giving them the chance to practice independently on their own. So I gave them, after I gave them the spiel, you got X amount of time to work on what you think you want to work on. You work on with by yourself. And I gave them ideas. For example, you can juggle. You can play soccer tennis. If you want to play soccer tennis with your buddies, if you feel like your first touch, you need to get better with your first touch. You can just work on bending balls. So as I play the clip, you can kind of see them here. I just told them what was going on. And it takes a second for them to kind of get organized. And you'll kind of see some kids, like you'll see there are two kids here. They're going to get together and they're going to strike the ball kind of back and forth here in a minute. So as this is playing, so I'm just going to see if I don't know if I can pause or not. On the right, so there's the ball that just got to me, and I'm going to knock it to, just going to let this young man knock another ball back to him. So there's two kids on the far right, and what they decided to do was try to work on bending balls. So at first, they're just striking balls back and forth, which is fine. And they're just trying to learn how to bend it. And I talked to them. I said, hey, so if you want to work on bending balls, see if you can just get the ball to spin sideways. And I'll talk about what external focus of attention. Here's a minute. You can see some kids are just juggling. Some kids are just kind of knocking it back and forth. And some kids are just kind of taking it easy. And that's okay. That's all right to give them that time. But as we went on, and the research has shown, actually, when you get players in pairs like this, and you just kind of let them practice back and forth, what they're doing right there, I don't know if you saw, but that young man you can see the ball swerving. You can see his toe up and his heel down after he struck the ball. What's happening, kind of not directly, is I'm watching the other person strike the ball and how they strike it. And maybe if they did it well, okay, I'm going to do that too. I'm going to try and do that too. So there's a lot of self-improvement going on here.
Thank you for watching this short preview video from the National Soccer Coaches Association of Canada. To see the full video, plus have access to hundreds of other coaching videos, blogs, webinars, and podcasts, plus free and discounted coach education courses and other soccer merchandise, plus to have exclusive access to register for all future NSCAC conventions, both live and online, click on the link below to become a member of the NSCAC today. Also, please remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, as your continued support allows us to continue to provide coach education and coach development resources to soccer coaches across Canada and worldwide. Thank you again for your continued support, and we look forward to seeing you at future NSCAC events.